moment. She broke the 4-minute mile. Holy shit.
Oh, God.
Oh, but we can't say anything about Roger Bannister because he's a white male, right? Yeah. You never even heard of him, had you?
I saw him in some books in elementary school. That's all I know.
He played guitar for AC/DC for years. Nobody knew that was him.
I don't believe that was him. I don't think that was him at all. Right? I don't believe that's what happened. All right, it's on Brad and Britt right now.
Yeah. Let's see.
I look several pounds heavier. I am because I've been eating so much food over the past few days. Lots of turkey and leftovers and shit. Mostly shit.
Oh, that's really funny when somebody who's lost a lot of weight pretends that they don't look as good as they. That's really funny.
It is. I've worked myself into that.
Yeah. Why isn't it there? God damn it. Do it again. You know who I like more and more when I hear him now? I got to admit it. I like the Tirico.
He's good. He's always good.
I like the Tirico.
He was always good.
When Al steps away, it won't matter.
I don't know if Al's getting drunk over the long weekend or what he's doing, but it's fine by me. We interviewed him in Eastern North on the Hot FM for an ECU game that they had, and he was very nice. And I called him up immediately after the interview to thank him, and he said, "You didn't have to call me." I was like, "Well, I'm stalking you, so it's fine."
Okay, are we ready?
I am ready.
I'm all set here. Okay. It is the Brad and Britt cast. It's our first post-Thanksgiving Brad and Britt cast. And I know you did a lot of traveling. You were in and out of a lot of airports like I was.
Yeah, sure.
You were not going to let.
That's right.
You were not going to let the jackal pack, the politically correct ninnies, tell us that we can't live our lives. And I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it.
Thank God for those upgrades in Wichita. That airport is turned into world class, and I'm not going to let the socialist, what was it that Bill O'Reilly used to call them? The secular progressives, the sec progs. I'm not going to let them dominate my life. Are we doing the war on Christmas this year? I need to know. Are we?
Nah, we're not. You can tell that there's nothing going on there.
That's unfortunate. We're not going to bitch about the Starbucks Christmas cup like we have in the past. And we're not going to talk about how the employees are forced to say happy holidays and then executed.
Nope. That is from our radio days.
The war on Christmas.
It's just gone.
I miss it so much.
Christmas won. It's over.
I want to bitch about Cyber Monday. They're still calling it Cyber Monday, which is the stupidest thing possible. You know, it's not Cyber Monday because they used to call it Cyber Monday because people didn't have internet access at home. They'd have to go to work and then people would shop on their computers at work.
Well, you're right. The reason that the name came into being was stupid but understandable.
It was.
But it lost its utility the minute everyone had computers in their life and they had them at home and they didn't have to have them just only at work. So you're right. So that's actually about a 3-step process.
It's so dumb.
To stupidity under the large and expansive Brad and Britt headline. Why do we do it? Because that's the way we've always done it, and we can't change.
We do it that way because we've always done it that way. But if you're shopping for Cyber Monday deals, make sure you're doing it through Amazon at our store, shop.bradandbritt.com. Right. Huge deals right now at shop.bradandbritt.com.
Now, to be fair, we've done, I think, not we, but we've done a pretty good job of squashing the idea of any kind of concentrated Black Friday anymore.
I
because
hope so.
you've been getting the shit in your email for 6 weeks, and it obviously wasn't a one-day thing. So we're making a little bit of progress there.
That's right.
But the Cyber Monday thing, I am with you. I have the most distressing coronavirus story of the day.
Oh no.
And you will not hear about this anywhere. I don't think. I don't know whether this is going to make the news or not. It might. It probably should. But a very, very good friend of mine who lives in the San Diego area, that's in California.
Is that north or south? I can never remember.
Well, it's south of the Southland. Anyway, that person has a daughter who is an emergency room nurse.
Wow.
At a large metropolitan hospital in that area. And over the weekend, she reported in that an 8-month-old baby was diagnosed positive for the coronavirus, which there's about 5 levels of terrible to that, including babies don't get it, children don't get it. And you wonder, how did the kid get it? Did he get it because he was exposed to parents who had it? And there's 12 levels, but just the fact that an 8-month-old would be testing positive, that's not a good story.
That's troubling. It's awful.
Not a good one at all.
And I think that the bomb is going to be unleashed on American hospitals, where there's absolutely no room for people in most places. After these Thanksgiving gatherings, I think you're going to see just massive hospitalizations across a wide swath of America, because I think there were a lot of people that just did not heed the warning at all. Yeah. That's the saddest thing to me. The story, before we get into, we have lots of things to cover since last we met. That the story that I just posted at the Brad and Britt Facebook page, facebook.com/Brad and Britt Show. The Justice Department is looking into restoring things like firing squads. It's a real story to get rid of prisoners in the final days of the Trump administration. They're looking into a redo on firing squads, Brad. That's what your buddy Bill Barr wants to do with his time that's remaining left in office in the Justice Department.
Boy, it's too bad. I was just thinking, we've heard all those stories for years that it's hard to find bullets anymore.
It's true.
Right? Ammunition was short. It got all bought up, but apparently there's still enough in the stockpile to
do it.
To do that. No, there's still enough time left in the Trump administration to do all kinds of inhumane things and bring us back to a barbaristic world that existed hundreds of years ago. There's no endeavor that Donald Trump can't fuck up here in the 50 days or so that he has to go. So that's
the approved amendment to the Monroe Federal Executions Rule gives federal prosecutors a wider variety, Brad, for options of execution in order to avoid delays if the state which the inmate was sentenced doesn't provide other alternatives.
But do you realize what bullshit this is? Do you know how many federal prisoners are ever executed?
Not that many.
Probably less than the number of fingers I have in my hand in the last 50 years. It's one of those. The people they go to state prison and get
Yeah, right? That's what happens. That's most of the time.
They just do. They just do. Fucking El Chapo is still living. El Chapo is still alive. We can't kill anybody, so don't even start.
The rule was included among 36 policy changes President Donald Trump is attempting to push through before the end of his term. This proposed change was first reported by ProPublica.
Right. So that way he can run on in 2024 on the at least I got us to use firing squads platform before I got out of office. All kinds of good things that the deplorables will love when they vote for him again.
This is one of the theories now. They're saying that on Inauguration Day, he's going to steal some of Joe Biden's spotlight by announcing his 2024 candidacy. That's what some of the rumors are out there.
And guess what? It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't.
It doesn't.
It really doesn't. A lot of times when you say that, I will fight you on it, but no, it doesn't matter.
This is such a cry for relevance.
It is.
When you really don't have to, but He does.
He does. He needs to do it, and that's what's happening. You want to go in reverse order, and you want to talk about that amazing Thanksgiving Day address by the president in the little desk on top of that AstroTurf and whatever shit room that was in the White House, where he fussed at somebody and said, "Don't you ever speak to the president that way."
Well, you kind of summed it up. That was enough. There it was.
That was what happened. Yeah. And he said that he would leave the White House, Brad. He would leave the White House in January, on January the 20th, he will end up leaving. But he later then, of course, changed his mind and said, if Joe Biden can prove that he got 80 million votes, he will leave the White House.
Right. This is the
stupidity.
This is the perversity of it all. That now that we've had about 3 recounts where every time they do a recount, Biden's lead gets bigger.
It does.
It doesn't matter where. In Georgia, it got bigger. In Wisconsin, in those 2 counties, it got bigger. In Michigan, it got bigger because Trump is the Earl of Gaslight.
Yes.
When that happens, what does he do? He turns that into this prove the negative. Prove the negative to me that when I say I got more votes and I won the election, I, Donald Trump, if you can't prove that, which has already been proven time and time again all over the country in every state, and when you do the math, it's 306 to 223, right?
Every time.
Whatever, every time. So he says if Joe Biden can't if who did the Raiders get whooped by yesterday?
Oh, it was Atlanta. It was the Atlanta Falcons.
Now, if Atlanta can't prove that they scored more points than the Raiders, then the Raiders did win the game. That's what you would say if you were Trump and you were a Raiders fan, right?
And even Raiders fans are not that delusional. We know we got our asses kicked. We're just going to move on. We're going to go to the next game. That's what we do.
I mean, we need to go check that scoreboard to see whether there were irregularities. Right. Maybe the scoreboard was produced in Venezuela. We don't know.
The bulbs in that, I think the light bulbs in that scoreboard were, because, that's what they used, light bulbs in 1954 to indicate the score. So, yeah, it's the dumbest shit possible. It's so stupid. Like, how? First of all, no one has to prove anything about 80 million votes, and it doesn't matter anyway because we don't decide who wins the presidency by popular votes. And shut up and go away, you ass. That's all that needs to be said.
We've been pretty consistent on this for many, many weeks, and before the election, I said that I thought that the best protection against Trump, who at that time was saying, unless I win, the election is fixed.
Yeah.
Remember that whole routine? Yeah. And he gets, quote, credit for actually being that asshole now that he's lost, right? Because he said, when he says he will do something insane, when he says he will do something completely off the wall, nutso, factless, and then he does that, well, there's a guy who says what he means and means what he says.
No. Yeah, look at the consistency of this guy. He really follows through on the bullshit.
No,
the way to go.
But what we were saying before the election is that the fact that there isn't federal control of our elections, as annoying as it is that in one county there's early voting until 4 p.m, and another county it ends at 2 p.m, and all these kind of different rules, as annoying as that seems to be in a perverse way, it was the best protector against what Trump is trying to do. And we know there's a slice of America that doesn't believe anything. There are no facts, and it doesn't matter what you tell them. But because even the most lost conspiracy theorist has to really be double lost to think that 3,600 counties, major cities, states themselves, governors, secretaries of state, and judges, many of whom were appointed by Donald Trump himself, all are getting the memo to cheat and deny Donald Trump the landslide that only he, Donald Trump, and one other person, Maria Bartiromo, will get to her in a moment.
Yeah, we should talk about her in a bit.
get to her in a moment. They're the only two, probably Hannity too, but even Hannity we know doesn't believe it. There's too much evidence of Hannity behind the scenes saying he's out of his fucking mind.
These were always, when we were in radio, these were always the 2 points of view. People thought when they compared Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity, I think the argument always was that Rush kind of knows that what he's doing is bullshit, but he's able to, like a 3-ring circus guy, a ringmaster, able to peddle it. A lot of people really thought that Sean Hannity believed what he said. I mean, that was the conventional wisdom that I got from a lot of the folks in radio. He may now have figured out that even this is too much bullshit for him to swallow.
I'll tell you who is more likely to believe this kind of bullshit. The wannabes, the wannabe Hannitys, the wannabe Limbaughs in radio.
Yeah, there's fewer and fewer of those right now too, by the way.
It doesn't matter. There's enough local people around the country.
There's 5 of them left that have all been fired.
But there aren't just 5. You know that. There's more than that. And these are people that are no higher in stature or in pay than you or I ever were.
Absolutely.
And I think that they drink the Kool-Aid because they think they have to be Rush or to be Hannity.
Right.
And those guys, they made it by being so full of shit.
Oh yeah.
Right. And
they can't bail now. They can't stop now. They're too far down the rabbit hole.
Right. They're too far down the.
It's like the Bugs Bunny cartoon. They dig all the way to China. They just can't stop digging. There's no possible way. Yeah. But their show prep for the bullshit for all these years was, pardon me if I'm wrong, it was the Drudge Report. And now Drudge has bailed on them. They have to go to Newsmax and One America and Breitbart, and they have to go to other sources now.
Believe me, they've been going to those for a long time.
Because Drudge, I did read that Donald Trump is now the first president ever to lose recounts in 2 separate states. As we come to you on Monday, on Cyber Monday, Arizona has just certified their results, even as Donald Trump continues to rail against all that. Arizona is going to be a burr in his saddle forever. Because I know that you read the important piece over the weekend from the Washington Post about the 20 days of madness following the election, which is one of the great accounts. It's amazing.
I did that because I got that as a notification on my phone,
yes.
and I immediately read it. So this was on Saturday.
Yes,
and it was so well done, and of course, it's all things that just happened, but it's very important to just see how delusionally nuts and off the rails these days have been since the election. And the number of people, and I don't know who it was that said it. It might have been this morning or yesterday, that we really have approached the moment in the case of a Mitch McConnell, who is right up there with Joe McCarthy.
Oh yeah,
and deserving of a "Sir, have you no decency" moment, where he's just stripped bare in front of the country for going along with Trump all this time, and still going along with him, even if he qualifies it by saying, on the one hand, yes, we're going to attend the inauguration, or yes, when President-elect Biden, blah, blah. But until all the votes are counted, and Donald Trump deserves the right to be, no, you can't be saying that. If you are saying that, you are still an enabler. You're as bad as you've ever been. And you will have nowhere to hide when the pages of history are written about this period. And I know you don't care, because you'll be dead, right? I don't care what they say about me after I'm gone, because I'll be gone. If that's your attitude, I guess we really can't do anything about that, can we? The best hope we have right now is that this whole thing implodes in Georgia on top of the Republicans, and they take the word of Donald Trump, who is going to, and he's doing it. And we always have to put aside the possibility that, as contradictory, hypocritical, full of shit, beyond discussion, crazy he is in saying one thing one minute, saying something else the opposite minute, that people who follow him will not only not call him on it, but they will reward him for it. They stopped rewarding him for it almost 4 weeks ago. They stopped finally, but not in enough numbers that if things don't go right, that the Republicans won't win, those 2 special elections in Georgia. But Trump, if he's saying that the election is fixed and he's trying to make the case that only the presidential election was fixed, but not all the down ballot races, because Republicans did well in those, and you should go out on January 5th and vote in the special election. Well, that's another down ballot race. Seems to me that one's going to be on the up and up, right? Or wait, no, it isn't, because you have a Secretary of State who is the most dishonest person ever. And now even Brian Kemp, the governor, a guy who really apparently has found the line which he will not cross of lack of ethics. When it comes to fixing his own election to governor, he's all in. Whatever it takes. However many people need to be disqualified.
He screwed over Stacey Abrams real good.
Right. But the line is, he will not do it for Donald Trump. And so the irony of ironies here is, and he's called out Trump today. He has called him out and said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not doing this for you. Right. I ain't in. But he was certainly willing to do it for himself. And that's, in a way, I kind of get that. Because when it comes to self-interest, who's more interested in self-interest than self-interested politicians? Donald Trump. Guess what? You found somebody who sucks as bad as you, who won't lay down for you. Because the definition of a good person to Donald Trump is someone who lays down for him. But the definition of a good person to Brian Kemp is someone who lays down for Brian Kemp, and that's just Brian Kemp.
Well,
and Donald Trump isn't going to support him. Donald Trump's already thrown him under the bus 56 times.
He has.
So it doesn't matter. So can this cacophony of inconsistency and bullshit fall down on top of the Republicans in Georgia? Can the fact that it's so clear, it's just so clear, certainly in the David Perdue, John Ossoff race,
right,
that Perdue has been caught red-handed trading stocks on his own behalf.
Absolutely.
And making money from it. And his excuse is, well, I got investigated and then they cleared me. Which, as you know, the line of ethics in American politics isn't, well, guess what? If you did something shitty enough for them to investigate you, maybe you're not the most honest person in the world. No, possibly. It's that they didn't indict me and send me to prison or fine me for it. So Ossoff is just killing this guy.
And he should.
But that so far, that hasn't mattered. We don't know. And notice we're not seeing any polling on these races.
I'm really nervous about this.
We're not seeing any.
I have to assume that the people who know what they're doing, and they haven't seen a lot of campaigning there for, to see some of the superstars of the Democratic Party go to Georgia. And I assume that it's too early to do that. And people are worried about Christmas and all of this stuff. But I'm very nervous that we're not seeing Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Jimmy Carter, for God's sake, campaigning in Georgia right now. I assume all of that's going to happen, and I could be completely wrong, and I hope I am, but it's going to be a tough lift to win both, because you got to run the gamut. You got to get both of those seats in order for the Democrats to have control.
Well, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on each side.
Good.
And I'm sure that's largely going into media that we don't see because
we're not there. It's fine.
And that's fine. But
so if I was watching the game in Atlanta of the Falcons destroying the Raiders, then I would have seen some of those ads.
I'm sure you would have.
In between the touchdowns and them kicking the Las Vegas Raiders. You know what the irony of that is? I got my first piece of Las Vegas Raiders gear like the day before. The day before that, I was actually out by where you live. I was at the Marshalls out by your house, and I bought a Las Vegas Raiders sweatshirt, and then the next day, they got their asses handed to them by a terrible Atlanta Falcons team.
You dummy. They're half price today. They're marking them down as we speak.
I'm taking it back and getting a receipt and cashing the effort.
And you know what? You know what's more expensive today? Cleveland Browns merchandise.
They're on a roll. They're going to go.
Or as I like to say, the worst 7-3 team in the history of the world.
That's crazy.
They're just dreadful. And by the way, while we're doing football, quick football segment, the obvious plot against the Buckeyes to deny them their duly elected championship.
Does this involve Venezuela as well, Miss Powell?
No, this involves like giving the Indians blankets with smallpox on them.
Blankets with smallpox.
They went and infected my Buckeyes team.
That's what they did.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, really. This is the Washington Post story. The effort culminated November 19th when lawyers Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis and Sidney Powell spoke on the president's behalf at the headquarters of the Republican National Committee to allege a far-reaching and coordinated plot to steal the election for Biden. Sidebar. Don't you like, for example, in that segment on 60 Minutes on Sunday where they're talking to Chris Krebs, don't you love when they flash back to that segment, they have to show Rudolph Giuliani with the dripping down the side of his face?
How do you not?
It's a news item. That's what happened. I love the fact that is preserved forever in history. And on this news conference on November, and they with the leaking shit down the side of his face. It's just fantastic.
Has anybody put together a montage? There's like a zillion movies. There's a million movies where people are sweating,
I want it to be like Raiders of the Lost Ark when that guy's face melts.
Right. You put it in there. Put it in there.
That's what I wanted to see.
Don't leave that one out. Yeah, of course that would go in.
They argued that Democratic leaders rigged the vote in a number of majority black cities and that voting machines were tampered with by communist forces in Venezuela at the direction of Hugo Chavez, who has been dead how many years now, Brad? If you said 7, you would be correct.
As they like to say on Dancing with the Stars, ready? 7.
It's like even Hitler was not able to orchestrate shit 7 years after he died. Stalin, 7 years after his died, wasn't still pulling the levers. Fidel Castro, still not pulling the levers 7 years after he's dead. This Chavez guy, he's a brilliant man.
Have you noticed that in the reporting of the story, in general, they don't always say, and it should be said every time, that Hugo Chavez is dead.
They don't. You're right.
They don't put it in there.
Just like Generalissimo Francisco Franco, they should say that he's dead.
But you have to do that.
You do.
You have to because there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people. I think we know now. There are a lot of dumb people in this country who know nothing. They know nothing, and they think that the leader of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, just got done tampering with election machines across this country. And you know what? Hugo Chavez needs to be held to account for this, right?
Can we invade Venezuela and get him and lock him up? Lock him up. Lock him up.
You are joking about it, but you know that if you polled the question open-ended, who is the president of Venezuela? What do you think people would say? What do you think? 35% at least would say
Hugo Chavez.
At least.
Absolutely. He's been dead for 7. Well, now I'd like to get into the theory. I wonder if some of the Trumpistas who are holding on to this, I wonder if they're holding on to somewhere idea, they say that Hugo Chavez is dead, but I'm not sure. I don't think he's actually dead. I believe Hillary Clinton has him holed up there in Chappaqua. The Venezuelan tale was too fantastical even for Trump, a man predisposed to conspiracy theories who for years had feverishly spread fiction. Advisors described the president as unsure about that latest gambit, made worse by the fact that what looked like black hair dye mixed with sweat had formed a trail dripping down both sides of Giuliani's face during the news conference. Trump thought the presentation made him, quote, look like a joke, according to one campaign official who discussed it with him.
Speaking of the hair thing, the long piece that I can't remember who wrote it in New York Magazine about why Trump suddenly stopped dyeing his hair blonde and has gone to full gray.
Right,
is the Clairol only his hairdresser knows for sure version of Donald Trump conceding that is the concession.
I'm out.
Things like that. That's the concession. It's like a guy who's going around town dating chicks and having lots of fun and lots of sex and everything's going great for him. And he's got his hair dyed jet black all the time. And then he just gives up. He just lets his hair go gray and just sits in front of the TV eating Cheetos and watching sitcoms. He let his hair go gray. And wait a minute.
Aide said the president was especially disappointed in Powell when Tucker Carlson, the host of Fox News' most watched program.
Yeah.
Is that really now Fox News' most watched program ahead of Sean? Oh, wow. Jeez. So Tucker Carlson has become what Glenn Beck became around 2009 and 2010, right? He's that guy now, right?
Yeah.
And that we saw how that flamed out. So hopefully it'll flame out exactly the same for Tucker Carlson.
All right. Now, let's yesterday morning at about 10:30, I watched live as it was on the Trump Maria Bartiromo.
Oh, no, this was good. Yeah.
All right. And I started watching it about 10:30, and at about 10:40, I froze it because I knew that Jane was going to come down, and I didn't want to hog the greatness. I wanted to have her share.
Yeah. This is what marriage is.
Yes. Well, because if I watch it all the way through, I don't want to see it again. So I just stopped and I waited for her to come down. And we watched the end. And we've chatted about Maria before, how she had a very, very credible career as a reporter over on CNBC. She's famous for being the first woman to report live from the New York Stock Exchange in 1985 down on the floor, because now they all have some woman looking up into a camera on the floor.
She was a very good business reporter for a number of years.
She was tough. She asked the hard questions.
She was really good.
And I don't know how many years ago she married this guy, Jonathan Steinhardt.
Okay.
But he's the son of Michael Steinhardt, who is a triple bazillion trillionaire.
Okay.
And so Jonathan is the president of the Wisdom Tree ETF funds. So he's worth many, many tens of millions of dollars himself. So she married money.
Right.
Now, okay, that's not bad. That's like a nurse finding the richest doctor in the hospital, starting to go out with him and marry the rich doctor. Okay.
Sure.
I mean, she found it, but she had a good career on her own, and she really didn't need to marry this guy for the money.
No, she did not.
But the moment she married that guy, I'm just guessing that was very close to the time she decided to go for her own career capping big money contract, because Fox Business was starting at that time, and they were trying to poach as many people from CNBC as possible. And she was a big name who, for whatever reason, said, yeah, I'm available. I'm ready to go to the highest bidder. And they grabbed her. And from the minute she was there, first of all, she started drinking the Fox Kool-Aid.
Oh, big time.
Immediately. And then when Trump became president, my God, you didn't think that anybody could do worse suck-up interviews than Hannity? Think again.
Yeah.
This was the worst, because she would just say, and then Trump would talk for 10 minutes. And the sad part, the pathetic part of it is obviously, she's not a journalist. She's beyond anything describable. I won't want to use words that are just not nice about her. But in that half hour that I watched, I didn't watch the whole hour, he did what you've heard him do so many times, which is he will repeat a story. He will repeat a series of assertions 10 minutes after he just made them about the identical over and over again, as if he was saying them for the first time. I mean, this is a serious marker of mental deteriorations. This is a serious marker of mental deteriorations. This is a serious marker. No, he did. He was doing it.
But wait, I also heard that he was repeating the same stories over and over again to her. I heard that he repeated the same stuff over and over again to her, which I think is a huge marker of. She's dreadful, and I don't know on that channel. I guess Lou Dobbs is on like every day on that channel, right?
But so it ran from 10 to 11 Eastern time, and right when it was over, they went back to their usual pretend to do news the rest of the day, and then at 3 p.m, that hour with Trump was so exciting. They reran it. They never rerun those shows.
Oh, it's special though.
This was so special. And right after that, And there's some little nooks and crannies about Fox that I find interesting. This is one of them.
For example,
they've got a couple of people who are anchors on the weekend who are not Kool-Aid drinkers, not even close.
Oh, no.
All right. And I can name two of them. You really have to be a media pig to understand who I'm talking about or know who I'm talking about. One guy's name is Leland Villiard.
Leland Villiard is the guy's name. All right.
Right. And the other guy is Eric Shawn. Eric Shawn was a local news guy on Channel 5, WNEW, now WNYW, forever. Good local news guy in New York. And he's been doing the weekend shifts during the day on Fox News. And Shawn comes on after they rerun the Maria Bartiromo Trump segment. And he fact checks the shit out of it. He kills it.
Oh no.
He devastates it.
Oh, that's not right.
He could have been on any of the other channels saying exactly what he said. In other words, he inherited the Shepard Smith seat, all right, which was, of course, abandoned by Shepard Smith, of all things. So that doesn't buy them any kind of credibility. It doesn't save the network. It doesn't mean anything. But it's just interesting. That tells me that there is such internal strife over there that you can't see, but it reveals itself every once in a while through these guys who do it on the weekend, through Chris Wallace, through occasionally Brett Baier, but not often. Brett Baier is torn. Brett Baier really wants to be thought of as a credible journalist. And if the Fox building explodes, he really thinks he should be able to get a job elsewhere. But I don't think so. I think there's too much damage done to him. And Chris Wallace doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. His reputation, I think, is intact. And
I think so. Yeah, I think he's done fine.
But this game of, well, we're going to tolerate a certain number of people like that. But everybody knows what we're really all about. It's pernicious, it's evil, it's horrible. And again, there's going to be a moment where whatever we think today is not going to exist in the future. It's not going to remain static. 15 years from now, it isn't going to be the same three channels doing the same. It's just not going to be that way because there too many people my age and older are going to die off, and too many people way younger than me are never going to bother to watch these channels and don't give a shit about cable news, and there won't be cable, and we'll all be getting our entertainment through our teeth in 15 years. We won't be getting it on a phone or on an iPad, if those still exist by then either. But it was truly, if you can actually say a new low was reached.
It was bad
in that hour of Maria Bartiromo and Trump. And there's so many little moments that jumped out to me. The one that really got me was when he started bitching about the Supreme Court. And he said, I can't believe I can't get my case heard in front of the Supreme Court. And I really want all these cases to be wrapped up into one. He thinks like a 3-year-old. A 3-year-old who doesn't know anything about anything would say, well, if you're the president of the United States and you're the most famous person and you're the head of the executive branch of the government, if you feel something is wrong, you should be able to walk down the street and walk into the Supreme Court and have them decide something that you want decided, right? Isn't that how?
Well, obviously,
that's basically what he's saying yesterday.
Well, because Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh and now Amy Coney Barrett, they all owe him, Brad. They owe him this.
But it isn't even to that point. I'm talking about the procedure. He thinks he just can't understand why certain people don't have standing in the Supreme Court. And of course, the Supreme Court doesn't take every case that people want heard. They pick and choose. And intuitively, he already knows, number one, they're not going to take any of the cases around the country that go up the ladder anyway. They're not going to overturn, 7 levels of courts but below them on these issues. They're just not. And if he's lucky, that will happen. If he's not lucky, they will take the case and vote 9-0 to throw his ass out.
Oh, yes.
Because I think that's what's going to happen. It isn't a question of who appointed you. If Trump is too stupid at this point to realize
they
that
owe him,
all around
Brad.
the country, he's getting smacked down by federal judges who he appointed, what makes him think that the members of the Supreme Court who he appointed are any less mindful of the future of the country and the law itself? The answer is he doesn't realize it. He apparently he's not drinking his own Kool-Aid. He's drowning in it and thinks that he should have the power to just bring a case. And what he wants to do, he wants to wrap all the cases around the country, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, you name it. He thinks they should be able to be wrapped into one nice bundle for the courts to rule in his favor on. And of course, that's not how it doesn't work that way, you dummy.
That's exactly right.
Big dummy. You
big dummy.
Big dummy.
I'm going to put 5 upside your lips, you big dummy. Yo, fish-eyed fool.
Fred Sanford.
We wrapped up the weekend with that piece on 60 Minutes from Chris Krebs, who used to be in charge of what they call, I think, CISA, the cybersecurity for the elections, who has been fired by Donald Trump right after he said that this election was the most secure ever. And he gave us the reason why we have to, and we should have faith in this election, and that was 2 words: paper ballots. Brad, did you vote with a paper ballot?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I
did as well. I absolutely did.
Yeah, my ballot was on paper. Sure, it was. I sent it.
You are just like 95% of the votes that were cast in this election, Brad. Yeah. That you voted with a paper ballot. Therefore, as the kids say, there is a receipt. That's why Chris Krebs says very simply that we have faith in this election, because you can go back, you can find the piece of paper, it's numbered, it correlates with this. Does this show what this computer thinks is? Yep, it sure does. And that's why, as you point out, Joe Biden is getting more votes on recounts, and he's become the only president to lose recounts in 2 different states. And I believe that was in Wisconsin and also in Georgia. He's lost recounts in 2 separate states. No other president has done that, and he continues to roll along and just pick up L's, Brad.
Wait, didn't he lose Arizona?
I don't know if that was they just certified, so it may be up to 3 now. So again, he's making history and setting new records all the time because he's such a fucking loser.
He's like the Pete Rose of nobody's ever going to beat that.
Ever.
No one's ever going to have 3 or more recounts against them. Nobody.
You mean the 4,256 career hits that Pete Rose has, and still he was cheated by Hugo Chavez out of the Baseball Hall of Fame? Is that what you're referring to?
Oh, you know about that.
That was actually when Hugo Chavez was alive. So you saw Mr. And he did say, he said, look, there's a number of things, a number of people are showing that they are true patriots. And it's not a high threshold. You talk about the governor of Georgia, Kemp, and you talk about Raffensperger in Georgia. You talk about Raffensperger, who voted for Donald Trump. His entire family voted for Donald Trump, and now he's receiving death threats because Donald Trump is such an idiot, and his followers are such idiots. They're sending death threats to people across this country. But the system is holding, and there are a number of patriots across the country that are saying, enough with the bullshit. I'm not willing to sell out my country for this raggedy ass.
Yeah,
that's what they're saying.
Which, of course, is what they've done and what they should say, and good for them. That's what they're supposed to do. I would just like to, in closing today, note this rather interesting juxtaposition of the supposed support by you and by me and of anybody who voted Democrat of violence, of riots, of lawlessness, because that's what we're all about, right?
Exactly.
And we don't get our way. Yet death threats to secretaries of state,
right,
or attorneys general, Republican ones. That doesn't count at all. That's not lawlessness.
No,
that's just people who are upset.
Right.
And we have to understand them.
Right. Try to understand them.
We have to give them time to internalize and digest the pain that they are accompanied to. And one more time, if I hear one more time that you people couldn't accept that Donald Trump was elected president, and you've been whining and crying for 4 years about it, that he's not a legitimate president, for the 150th time, that was not what we said after the election. We said that Donald Trump got all of the votes that he got at voting machines and on paper ballots and in absentee ballots and mail-in ballots, which, as you know, are completely different from each other, completely different. But that the election was tampered with by the Russians through disinformation and the release of illegally obtained information that was winked at and sanctioned, if not explicitly, but implicitly by Donald Russia, if you're listening, Trump. There is a big difference between that and Hillary Clinton, of course, conceding within 24 hours of the polls closing, and then not demanding recount after recount after recount, and not accepting the terms of the election as it was counted across the country. And by the way, she had way more right to do so. She had way more right to do so if she would have wanted to than you do right now, because those states in the upper Midwest, Wisconsin was way closer in her election than yours. Michigan was way closer than it was this time. Biden won Michigan, what, by 130,000 votes, something like that?
Something like that.
And the last time, Hillary Clinton lost Michigan by 10, 12,000 votes. And there was a third fucking party in there.
There was, yeah.
To siphon off votes. So if anybody has any reason to demand a recount or whine and bitch about it nonstop and go to court over and over again, it would have been her. But she didn't do it. No. She did what Nixon did in 1960 and said, I'm not going to do that.
The next day, she conceded the very next day. She conceded that night to him personally and made a speech the next day and said, I'm going away. That's what she did because she's a better person than he is.
But the version of that following that is because when she said, you know, I'm not going to contest the election the way Trump is doing it now, or I'm not going to file lawsuits, yet she has been speaking out publicly for all these years, as is her right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is absolutely her right. But you never hear her go around the country and say, you know, I should have been president because the count was rigged, because some foreign entity was counting the votes. That's a good one. How come we have to, you know, they count the votes in foreign countries for Biden. Where the fuck did that come from? He didn't
even try to backwards manufacture that. He goes, it's not true. We count all of the votes here. Well, except for the ones that Hugo Chavez is actually counting in the grave. Now those he's counting.
That's true. So anyway, we got that done. And let me just express my condolences. You had such high hopes for the Raiders. I mean, they started off pretty good, didn't they?
Well, they beat the Chiefs and they're 6-5, and if they win out, they'll, they can be fine. So I'm not giving up hope.
No,
and they didn't lose that game yesterday. They didn't lose it.
They might want to hire that girl kicker from
Vanderbilt.
From Vanderbilt, the one who kicked off, you know, a 30-yard squibber that was the worst kickoff ever. But everyone's acting as if she just cured cancer. But
way to make history.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.